Caught up in the chaos, Welsh holidaymakers stranded in the Middle East describe their nightmare as flights are cancelled.
It's not often I get scared, but yeah, the night we got evacuated was scary. Yeah, it's been a bit, upsetting, I think it would. And obviously with the children and stuff, it can be a bit traumatising.
I'll have the latest travel advice for those desperately trying to make their way home from their airport ordeal.
Welsh Labour promises billions more for hospital upgrades in a last-ditch move to stay in power. So can it sway voters? The secrets of seaweed, how this humble plant could help improve our mental health. And the signature that could be worth millions. Is Llandudno home to a French masterpiece? We take a closer look. Hello, good evening. Welsh holidaymakers have spoken of their fear and worry amid the ongoing turmoil in the Middle East, as Iran unleashes a new wave of strikes in retaliation for the death of their leader. The world's top international hub airport in Dubai remains closed for a fourth day. It means millions of passengers are stuck and unable to continue their journey. Among them are Welsh holidaymakers from Bridgend, who say they've been very scared. With the latest, our consumer reporter Kate Lewis is at Cardiff Airport for us this evening. Kate, just bring us up with the very latest you have.
Well, this is a very worrying time, John, for all those who find themselves stranded in popular holiday hotspots such as Dubai, Abu Dhabi and even places like Cyprus, Turkey and Egypt. Airlines across the globe have now been grounded, and it's an anxious wait for people to find out when the airspace will be allowed to reopen and they'll be able to return home, as our correspondent Hannah Thomas now reports.
What the Welsh have seen in Dubai. Amid the strikes, thousands of holidaymakers have been trying to get home. Among them is Liam Skirm from Bridgend. He and his family have been evacuated from the attacks.
It's been a bit, upsetting, I think it would. And obviously with the children and stuff, it can be a bit traumatising, you know. But, it's not often I get scared, but the night we got evacuated was scary. And obviously for the kids, my youngest one is 3, so he kind of thinks it's fireworks, which is sad in itself. But my oldest boy, it's been tough.
The warning sirens is being sounded now. The warning sirens is being sounded now.
This was filmed by teacher Mena Ellen in Bahrain. She's from Llandovery, but living in the Middle East. Welsh expats and Welsh tourists are being caught up in the chaos.
Good morning, Sunset Travel.
This travel agent in Cowbridge now has clients stranded in countries all over the world.
If we think that the likes of Dubai and Doha, these hubs, and Abu Dhabi, these hubs in the Middle East are major airports for clients who travel to India, Asia, Australia, the Indian Ocean, so the Maldives, Mauritius. So we do have some clients who have had a knock-on effect, so to speak, that their flights have been cancelled or there have been long delays because they've been unable, obviously, to fly into those Middle Eastern airports.
In India, Suzanne Evans and her partner Alan Humphreys from Merthyr Tydfil have been enjoying a holiday in Goa. They were due to fly home yesterday with Qatar Airways, but Middle Eastern airspace is closed and they've no idea when they'll be back.
We've advised the British Embassy in India that we're here, and basically they've told us to register for any emails, which we've done. And then just basically wait for Qatar to send us information about the flight. We know of 12 other Welsh people from Merthyr who are due to go home on Wednesday, but I'm not sure if their flight's going to go.
For now, all flights are suspended until further notice, but Welsh holidaymakers will be hoping that the situation de-escalates soon so that they can be repatriated to Wales. Hannah Thomas, ITV News.
And Kate, for anybody with a holiday in the region already booked, what's the advice you have?
Well, John, as we came to hear tonight, the advice from the UK Foreign Office is crystal clear. It is to avoid all but essential travel to the Middle East. Now, in the last hour, we have heard that a limited number of flights are resuming this evening from the two main hubs in Dubai. So a little bit of relief, I'm sure, for some there. But for those stranded, and there will be thousands still stranded, they are being urged to ensure their details are up to date on the Foreign Office website so they can be contacted quickly if need be, and also to keep in touch closely with their airline. For context though, let's take a look at the latest radar picture we have, and this shows the level of disruption and diversions that airlines are having to take to avoid that Iranian airspace. Now, for those holiday makers or the ones hoping to go on their holidays to the Middle East in the next few weeks, as I say, the advice at the moment is do not travel unless absolutely necessary. That may change to, check before you travel. This is a very fast-moving situation. If you do have an ATOL protected holiday, well, in terms of insurance, you are possibly and more than likely able to recoup some money. But the advice here is definitely to check. And it is a very worrying time for those abroad at the moment and their families home here in Wales.
Kate Lewis at Cardiff Airport, thanks very much indeed. Labour launched their bid to remain in power in Cardiff Bay today with a pledge to spend £4 billion upgrading our hospital buildings. The party's been languishing in the opinion polls and have an uphill struggle to extend their 27-year leadership of the Senedd. But Eluned Morgan insists she has a plan for the future. They held their launch in Newport, from where our reporter Mike Griffiths joins us this evening. Mike, what was the mood like given the party's ongoing troubles?
Well, Eluned Morgan today, Jonathan, links the party to the Chartist movement here in Newport, trying to really draw a line between that message of working people and representing them. We saw party members, we saw currently elected members and those hoping to be elected in May, all listening to a series of pledges of what she said her party could continue to offer. The message today seeming to be they have been in power for a long time here yet, but don't write us off yet. We still have more to give.
Eluned Morgan has had a long career in politics, but this will be the first time she's taken Labour into an election as leader.
Welsh Labour is ready to move on. The context has changed.
Launching their campaign in Newport, the First Minister wanted to portray this as a new beginning. But after 27 years in power, is Labour's grip slipping?
I'm focused on making sure we get the very best result we can, and by giving a really practical offer to the Welsh people, capping bus fares at £2, for example, making sure that teaching assistants in schools, for example, are paid throughout the year, unlike the situation at the moment, supporting people through what are challenges in their lives. That's what we're focused on.
Labour's campaign slogan is a new chapter for Wales. Not an easy thing to do when they've been in power in one form or another since the beginning of devolution. They say that is giving them an edge over opponents in terms of leadership. But lagging consistently in the polls for months now, they know they may face an uphill battle.
£4 billion into new hospitals and healthcare, developing a clean energy future, which is to do with jobs and investment in skills for our young people, our sons and our daughters. This is an exciting chapter, and that's what the people of Wales need to make the decision on.
And the difficulty you have is there's a consistent pattern in the polls, isn't there, of Labour here in third, even fourth place at times, by-elections being lost in safe Labour seats over the border. How do you turn that around?
So we turn it around by having really practical, deliverable policies with real ambition. And that's exactly what Eluned Morgan has laid out here today.
So what do people here make of what's on offer?
I think that they've just gone beyond it now. The country's just gone to pot. So that's in my opinion.
Do you draw any difference between Labour in Westminster and Labour here in the Senedd?
I think the outcomes are the same.
We've always Labour.
Will you be this time around?
He was born in it, in the valleys.
My dad would turn in his grave if I voted for anybody else.
We can't change
because he's
now.
all minor.
The health service is one. Potholes is another big one. So, yeah, time for a change in Wales.
Labour governments in Cardiff Bay and Westminster like to talk about a partnership in power. The distance between them on a map may be long, but the party's fortunes here this May will be closely watched.
Well, let's pick up on that last point there. And politicians in the Labour Party here and in Westminster, ever since the Labour Party came to power in Westminster, have wanted to point to greater collaboration, of it being of mutual benefit to have Labour governments both in Cardiff and in London. But there has been friction along the way. There's been friction over calls potentially for further devolution. There's been friction over the amount of money that's supposedly been unlocked from the Treasury going to projects here in Wales. Now today the First Minister saying that has had benefits in terms of helping them cut waiting lists, for example, make improvements to the NHS. We didn't hear much on other issues that the Welsh Government is directly responsible for, such as education, for example. But they did want to point to further things they said they'd like to be able to do. And you really got a sense, perhaps, of a race of time really running short. The First Minister's only been in her position since the end of 2024, after a torrid time for Labour here in Wales. And with just over 2 months to go until the election here, closing the gap that they face right across the polls is no easy feat.
Mike Griffiths in Newport, thanks very much. Social media ruined my life. That's how one teenager from North Wales feels after intimate pictures of her were leaked online when she was just 13 years old. Georgia's now 17 and has been speaking to S4C's Y Byd Bedwar programme. She now supports calls for a social media ban for children under 16 as the UK government consults on the move. Ness Jenkins reports.
When Georgia got a phone at the age of 11, the idea of making new friends excited her. But 2 years later, after she began speaking to a stranger online, her world changed forever.
I met a lad. He was sweet. He showed me that he liked me. And we just started dating.
You believed that this guy was your age?
Yeah.
You never met him?
No.
After talking every day for 3 months, they exchanged intimate pictures of each other with the promise of keeping them private. But following an argument where Georgia broke up with him, he broke that promise and shared her pictures in group chats full of strangers as well as pupils from Georgia's school.
I just felt really disgusted in myself. I locked myself away and refusing to go to school, just so I wouldn't have to sit in the lesson and get people bringing up the pictures and to sexualise the pictures.
The case was referred to the police, who told us that the boy was under 16 at the time, and because of that, no criminal action was taken and both parties received support. There's been mounting cross-party pressure on the government to introduce a social media ban for those under the age of 16, especially since a blanket ban came into force in Australia in December. The UK government has launched a 3-month consultation with a decision expected on its findings by the end of the year, something the Office of the Children's Commissioner for Wales welcomes.
There's a few things we'd like to see, for example, a stronger adherence to the Online Safety Act.
But some would say that hasn't worked. The Online Safety Act hasn't gone far enough because clearly children are exposed to things they shouldn't be able to see online.
Yeah, there just needs to be a much stronger adherence to it and making sure that these platforms are held to account.
The UK government says it has some of the strongest online safety protections in the world, but admits it's not enough. They say that Georgia's horrific story is why they're going further and faster to protect children online, including platforms having to take down intimate photos within 48 hours of being reported.
Social media these days, it's not safe for kids under 16.
You would support a ban?
Yeah.
Why?
So they wouldn't have to go through what I went through.
For Georgia, the damage was done with a single click, and what happened online became her devastating reality. Ness Jenkins, ITV News.
And you can see more on that in Y Byd Bedwar tonight on S4C at 8 o'clock. And the programme has English subtitles. Ruth here. How's the weather looking this week?
Well, actually, I have good news. After a bit of a shaky start today, spring is going to, well, spring. I have blue sky and sunshine for you. I'll see you in a few minutes.
And Matt is in the Wales camp for us.
Yes, after a week off, Wales are back to work this week and preparing to take on Ireland on Friday night. I'll have all the latest from the camp shortly.
But first tonight, a new seaweed extract could have a positive impact on our mental health and well-being. That's according to new research scientists at Aberystwyth University. They believe it could offer a new natural remedy for gut health ailments, with the seaweed capsules showing promising anti-inflammatory benefits. Katie Fenton has been finding out more.
It's easy to overlook, but seaweed holds secrets. And Dr. Jessica knows them all.
You get a bladder for every year old it is, so it's sort of like a tree with rings. This piece here has been growing here for 5 or 6 years.
For nearly 2 decades, this Aberystwyth scientist's been studying seaweed's potential.
Seaweeds are really good at taking up nutrients and elements out of the water.
And after scouring the West Wales shoreline for different species, in the lab, she's uncovering even more about this humble algae.
We do have a long history of using seaweeds, and particularly here in Wales, you know, larvae, and that's still part of our culinary repertoire. It has dropped out of fashion in the last sort of 100, 150 years, but before then, people all around the UK used to eat seaweed regularly, and they used to get the benefits from it.
Experts have long said the key to living well is through healthy food and exercising regularly. But for those of us living busy lives who struggle to meet those goals, scientists here believe this tiny capsule could pack a big punch.
Sustainably sourced brown seaweed is washed and ground into a fine powder. That is rich in fucoidin, a natural compound with anti-inflammatory properties. Chronic inflammation is linked to several diseases, and growing evidence also ties it to anxiety, depression and fatigue. So scientists here hope these capsules could support both body and mind in a daily dose.
Historically, there's lots of use of seaweeds, both as a food, but also for things like for aiding rheumatism and arthritis. So even in Ireland now, you can still have a seaweed bath. I think people are aware that seaweed can do a lot for us. But I think the area of supplements is quite a new one. So there's a lot more we could do with seaweed.
A larger trial is now needed, but Dr. Jessica is excited by the possibilities.
Good food, exercise and sleep are also absolutely key attributes here. But yeah, I think it has a genuine potential to make a difference to people's diets in future.
So the next time you're at the beach and you see some seaweed, just think perhaps one day this stuff could become a part of your daily diet. Katie Fenton, ITV News in Aberystwyth.
Lava bread, delicious. Time now for the latest sports news.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Cymru Wales Sports Report.
Rugby and Wales attack coach Matt Sherratt says his side are full of confidence after a much improved performance against Scotland a fortnight ago. The team head to Dublin this week, still looking for their first win of the Six Nations. Well, our sports reporter Matt Southcomb's at the team HQ in the Vale of Glamorgan for us this evening. Matt, a real tough trip ahead.
Yeah, very much so, John. The last time Wales won a Six Nations match in Dublin was during the Grand Slam of 2012. And in the last decade or so, some very, very good Welsh sides have come home from Dublin with the tail firmly between their legs. Now, ironically, Ireland at the start of this tournament were allegedly in somewhat of a crisis after losing to France in the opening round. But it's fair to say they've turned things around with a bit of interest after doing a real number on England up in Twickenham last time out. But Wales too were also much improved during their last match against Scotland, and the message from the camp today is that that performance is now the minimum standard.
That was probably the resounding feedback from the players, is that's a line in the sand of almost that has to be our intent wherever we are. So regardless of who we're playing, where we are, that intent and kind of that bravery piece, if you like, is there week in, week out. So listen, hopefully that's a stepping stone for us. But as you can see with lots of teams in the Six Nations, it's not to get too carried away.
So the news from the camp today as well is around fly half Sam Costello. That's the main issue right now. He was so good against Scotland, arguably his best performance in a Wales shirt, but he did limp off the field in the second half, and he is a major doubt for this match. We saw him today down in training, but he was looking a little glum as he sat on the sidelines as his teammates were going through their drills. We hear today that he's not going to be involved. I said a major doubt. He is not going to be involved against Ireland. It means that Dan Edwards is the front runner to return to the number 10 shirt as Wales once again go in search of their first win in the Six Nations for 3 years.
Matt at the Vale, thanks very much indeed. Now, it's been admired, looked at and hung in a corner of Llandudno Museum for years. But could the North Wales venue be home to a lost painting by a French master? Edgar Degas' works have been sold for tens of millions of dollars, and experts are now studying a painting at the seaside town to see if its signed painting is real. Well, who else but Rob Shelley takes up the story.
You tend to notice big blue skies. This one's over Llandudno. But there's a lot of stuff that passes our attention by. Llandudno's museum is a home to many things, including this, a rather nice watercolour of people being very Victorian on a beach, probably somewhere in France, signed in the left-hand corner, Degas.
Whoever painted it, they've made a really good job.
You can tell it's not Wales because that's not an umbrella, that's a parasol. And for decades people have looked at it, bought postcards of it, until the moment when the people who love the museum started to wonder, it can't actually be a real Degas, can it?
We've used it on some postcards and other items that we sell in the shop, but we've always thought that it was just a Degas copy. It's a lovely work of art.
Well, I have to say, I sort of think you've made it if you've become a fridge magnet anyway.
Yeah.
You've kind of made it to a form of fridgely immortality.
Definitely.
The painting was owned by wealthy businessman Edouard Chardin, who gave his collection and his house to the town he loved, Llandudno, and who possibly actually met the French Impressionist painter Edgar Degas. So, thanks to the enthusiasm of the museum's Dr. Rob Attenstadt, experts are now having a very close look.
Christie's in New York, who have a member of staff there who is one of the world's leading experts on Degas. We're now waiting to see what his verdict is.
Now, there is one huge question here. You are probably going to know definitively, if this is a Degas or not.
Yeah.
Do you really want to know?
So part of me would like it to stay a mystery. But part of me would really like to know, is it a genuine Degas?
Because that's the thing with detective stories. Do you really want to know the ending if the conclusion happens to be a bit disappointing? Is it better to know?
I like the mystery side of it, of not knowing if it's a real one or not.
So you could have seen a genuine real Degas today?
Yeah.
Of course, the actual painting, that doesn't change. It's still a fine blue day somewhere in France, although the way we see it might alter a bit. Oh, and by the way, the auction record for a Degas painting is $37 million. Happy sunbathing. Rob Shelley, ITV News, Llandudno.
I hope it is real.
Oh, 37 million!
Yeah.
Wow, wouldn't that just be amazing?
To put it behind glass then, wouldn't they?
It's just like the ultimate dream, isn't it? You've got that picture that's been hanging in your nan's bedroom or the downstairs loo for ages, and suddenly you find out it's worth a fortune.
Yeah, the weather all too real at the moment.
Better luck on the weather front though. Yeah, I might not be worth millions, but I can promise you a little bit of sunshine. That's because yesterday, you might remember, we started meteorological spring, which also means that yesterday we waved goodbye to meteorological winter, and what a winter it was. It was certainly a soggy one. Perhaps wasn't quite as wet as as you might have thought. It felt like it rained every single day, but actually here in Wales we had about 20% over the average over the winter season. That's still an awful lot of wet weather. England fared even worse. They had 42% of their wet weather. So we didn't do too badly, but it still wasn't very pleasant, was it? So that was winter. Spring, of course, is coming, and you can notice already the days are starting to get a little bit longer, aren't they? Here in Cardiff and across much of Wales, the sun is now setting at around 5 to 6 in the evening, which means we're getting round about 11 hours of daylight. Now, speaking of daylight, not only are we getting longer days, but we're getting sunnier days this week. Spring is very definitely in the air, and the temperatures are going to feel quite warm as well.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening of pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Well, it's settling down quite nicely out there at the moment. Still got a few showers across northeastern areas, but these too will fizzle out, and we're looking at a quiet end to the night. Clear skies developing in places too, and the winds will drop back. So it's going to be quite a chilly night. We're still at that time of the year, after all, where there's quite a variation in daytime and nighttime temperatures. So lows of around 2 or 3 degrees, maybe a little bit of frost in more sheltered rural spots, but nothing too troublesome. We could also see some pockets of mist and fog through the valleys and around the hills as well, thanks to those gentle winds. But as we wake to tomorrow morning, the good news is that all of this will lift away quite quickly. Could be a gloomy start, but don't panic. I can offer you lots of blue sky and sunshine tomorrow. Possibly turning a little bit cloudy down across the south as we head into the afternoon, but generally fine and dry. The chilly start means that those temperatures will take a little bit longer to recover. So still feeling very pleasant indeed in that sunshine, highs of around 11 or 12, and actually still above the average for the time of year. As we head through Tuesday night, then again, temperatures tumbling under clear skies, and you can see the high pressure that's dominating our weather story bouncing around. We could see just a little bit of cloud starting to filter in as we wake to Wednesday, but again, don't panic. This will start to break up during the course of the day. Blue sky and sunshine, and the temperatures continuing that rising trend with a more southerly airflow. So if you see the sunshine on Wednesday, most likely down across the south-southeast, we could see highs of 15 or even 16 in Celsius. And that trend will continue as we head through into Thursday as well. Cooling down slightly by the time we get to the end of the week and into the coming weekend, but the good news is that the weather remains generally fine and settled throughout.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
And now, all of a sudden, everyone likes me all over again.
Bring it on.
I do not have to hide my face in shame, but yeah, good until the coming weekend as well. It's not bad.
Oh, I can't wait.
I tell you.
Can't wait. I'll be back with the late update. That's after the ITV news at 10. But for now, from all of us on the programme, thanks for watching. We'll do it all again tomorrow.